The incessant buzzing of the forest insects was the only sound I could hear apart from the rapid beating of my heart. My hands trembled as I held the flashlight, its beam of light dancing erratically between the dense trees that surrounded me. I was lost, disoriented, and with a growing fear consuming me inside. But nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to encounter on that fateful night in 1978. My name is Marcus Holloway, and I was a simple park ranger in California's Redwood National Park. Or at least, that's what I thought I was until that night. Now, as I write this account with trembling hands, I'm no longer sure of anything, not even my own sanity. It all started with a routine call about strange lights spotted in the most remote and unexplored part of the park. I should have called for reinforcements. I should have waited until dawn. But the curiosity and arrogance of youth propelled me into the forest, alone, in the middle of the night. As I got deeper into the forest, the air seemed to get denser, heavier. The familiar sounds of wildlife were gradually replaced by an oppressive silence, as if all of nature was holding its breath in anticipation. It was then that I saw it, a bluish, pulsating glow emanating from a clearing ahead. My heart leapt into my throat as I cautiously approached, pushing aside low branches with sweaty hands, and there it was, a metallic structure, smooth and shiny, contrasting shockingly with the natural landscape around it. It was shaped like a flat disc, about 20 meters in diameter, supported by 3 legs that sank into the soft earth of the forest. There was no doubt in my mind I was in front of an alien ship. My first instinct was to run, to scream, to do anything to escape that impossible sight. But something kept me paralyzed in place, unable to look away. The surface of the ship pulsed with a hypnotic bluish glow, and I found myself irresistibly drawn towards it. As I got closer, I noticed that there was no sign of damage or impact around the ship. It was as if it had simply landed there, gently, without disturbing so much as a leaf. The metal, if it was indeed metal, seemed fluid, almost alive, with intricate patterns that moved and changed before my astonished eyes. It was then that I realized something even more disturbing. There was no sign of any crew members, no alien body, no trace of extraterrestrial life. The ship seemed completely abandoned, a silent enigma in the heart of the forest. I swallowed, mustering all the courage I had left, and took another step towards the ship. That's when I heard it, a whisper so low that at first I thought it was just the wind between the trees. But as I concentrated, the whisper turned into words in a language I had never heard before, but which, in some terrible and wonderful way, I could understand. "Welcome, Marcus," the voice said, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. "We've been expecting you." An icy shiver ran down my spine. How did they know my name? And what did they mean by "we've been waiting"? I spun around quickly, scanning the clearing with my flashlight, desperately searching for the source of the voice, but there was no one there. Just the old trees, the silent ship, and the impenetrable darkness of the forest. It was then that I noticed the shadows between the trees. They were moving, not with the wind, but with a purpose of their own. Dark, indistinct shapes that seemed to twist and stretch, always remaining just out of reach of my light. My heart raced, panic threatening to overwhelm me. I wanted to run, to scream for help, to do anything to escape this nightmare. But my feet seemed stuck to the ground, my body refusing to obey my brain's desperate commands. The voice came again, stronger this time, resonating not only around me but inside my own head. "Don't be afraid, Marcus. We are not dead. We're very much alive, and we have so much to show you." The shadows drew closer, taking on form and substance. I could see eyes now, dozens, hundreds of glowing eyes watching me from the darkness. Aliens? Ghosts? Demons? I couldn't tell. All I knew was that I was surrounded, trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The ship began to pulse more intensely, its bluish glow increasing until it almost obscured my vision. The shadows moved faster now, circling me in a frantic and terrifying dance. And then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse, I felt something touch my shoulder. Something cold, wet, and decidedly non-human. Slowly, trembling uncontrollably, I turned my head to look. The scream that formed in my throat never came out. My mind simply refused to process what my eyes were seeing. The last thing I remember before losing consciousness was a terrible, inescapable thought. They're not dead. They're watching me. And now they have me. When consciousness returned, it was like emerging from a nightmare into an even more terrible one. My eyes opened to an absolute darkness, so dense that for a terrifying moment I thought I had gone blind. Panic threatened to overwhelm me again, but I forced myself to take deep breaths, trying to calm my racing heart. Gradually, my other senses began to adjust. I realized that I was lying on a cold, smooth surface, unlike anything I had ever felt before. It wasn't metal, plastic, or stone. It was something alive. It pulsed gently beneath me, as if breathing in a slow, steady rhythm. The air around me was heavy and humid, with a strange smell that I couldn't identify. A mixture of ozone, wet earth, and something else, something alien. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft sound of my own breathing and the low, constant humming that seemed to come from all directions. I tried to move, but found that my limbs were heavy, as if I were submerged in viscous water. There were no visible restraints, but something held me in place, unable to make more than small movements. "Hello?" My voice came out as a hoarse squawk, almost unrecognizable. "Is anyone there?" In response, I heard that whisper again, the same ethereal, multifaceted voice that had called me in the forest. "Welcome back, Marcus. We hope you're comfortable." A shiver ran down my spine. The voice seemed to come from inside my own head, but at the same time from everywhere around me. "Who are you? What do you want from me?" "We are the Watchers," the voice replied. "And as for what we want knowledge, Marcus. We want to understand." Before I could process what this meant, the darkness around me began to dissipate. It wasn't light entering the room, but darkness itself transforming, gaining texture and depth. Shapes began to materialize around me, first indistinct and hazy, then increasingly clear. I found myself surrounded by creatures that defied description. They were like living shadows, constantly changing shape, with glowing eyes that pulsed in impossible colors. They had no discernible faces, but I could feel their curiosity, their hunger for knowledge, emanating from them in almost tangible waves. Are you aliens?" I asked, my voice trembling. The answer came not in words, but in images that flooded my mind. I saw distant galaxies, worlds beyond imagination, civilizations that flourished and died before the Earth was even formed. I realized, in an instant of terrifying clarity, that aliens was a ridiculously inadequate term to describe these entities. "We are the ones who came before," explained the voice in my mind. "We observe, we study, we learn, and now, Marcus, you will help us understand." I felt something move inside my head, as if icy fingers were rummaging through my thoughts and memories. I tried to resist, but it was useless. My whole life was being exposed, examined, dissected by these impossible creatures. "Please," I begged, tears streaming down my face. "Why me? What do you want to know?" The answer came in another wave of images and sensations. I saw the history of humanity flash before my eyes in an instant. Our wars, our conquests, our loves and hates. I saw our incessant quest for knowledge, our insatiable curiosity that has taken us from the caves to the stars. "You are fascinating," said the voice. "So young, so full of potential. We want to understand what drives you, what makes you unique among the countless species we observe." As they spoke, I felt my body begin to change. It was as if every cell was being rewritten, rebuilt. There was no pain, just a strange sensation of displacement, as if I were being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. "What are you doing to me?" I shouted, panic finally breaking my voice. "We're improving you, Marcus," replied the voice, now sounding almost gentle. "To truly understand, we need to become part of you." "And you, part of us?" I watched in horror as my skin began to darken and ripple, taking on the same fluid, changeable quality as the creatures around me. My senses expanded in ways I couldn't comprehend. I could see colors that had no name, hear the movement of the stars, feel the pulsing of the earth itself beneath me. No, I whispered, but it was a weak protest against the inevitable. I could feel my humanity draining away, being replaced by something vast and alien. Memories that weren't mine flooded my mind. Lives lived on distant worlds, knowledge accumulated over eons. The creatures, the watchers, drew closer, their shadowy bodies merging with mine. There was no longer any separation between us. I was them, and they were me. And as my consciousness expanded to encompass entire galaxies, one last spark of the Marcus Holloway I once was screamed silently into the vastness of the cosmos. What have I become? The passage of time lost all meaning. It could have been hours, days, or centuries since I was absorbed by the Watchers. My consciousness floated in an ocean of cosmic knowledge, lost between memories that weren't mine and realities that defied human comprehension. Slowly, painfully, I began to regain a sense of individuality. It was like trying to hold sand with open hands. The more I tried to hold on to my identity, the more it seemed to slip through my fingers. But I refused to give up. Some stubborn, fundamentally human part of me refused to be completely absorbed. Marcus, I heard the collective voice of the Watchers echo through the layers of shared consciousness. You're adapting well. I tried to reply, but found that I no longer had a voice in the traditional sense. Instead, my thoughts projected out like waves of energy, reverberating through the fabric of reality that now surrounded me. What have you done to me? I asked, my fear and confusion manifesting as pulsations of dark colors in the space around me. We elevated you, the Watchers replied. You are now part of something greater than any individual could ever comprehend. Through you, we are finally beginning to understand the essence of humanity. As they spoke, I felt my consciousness being pulled in impossible directions. I saw the Earth from perspectives that no human has ever witnessed. From the core of the planet to the edges of the atmosphere, all at the same time. I could feel every life on the surface, every heartbeat, every fleeting thought. And then, as abruptly as it began, the view expanded. Whole galaxies passed before me in the blink of an eye. I saw the birth and death of stars, the collapse of black holes, the eternal dance of celestial bodies. It was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Part of me wanted to give myself completely to this new existence, to leave behind the limitations of my old life. But another part, that stubborn spark of humanity, clung desperately to the memories of who I was. Why me? I finally managed to ask. Why did they choose me? The answer came not in words, but in a series of impressions and memories. I saw myself through their eyes, a bright point of light in the darkness of the forest. My curiosity, my desire to explore the unknown, shone like a beacon for them. You called us Marcus, the Watchers explained. Your mind was open, receptive. Out of millions, you were the only one who could hear us. With this revelation, long-forgotten memories surfaced. I remembered strange dreams I'd had all my life, visions of distant stars and impossible creatures. I realized that the Watchers had been with me all along, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And now? I asked, a tremor of apprehension running through my expanded consciousness. Now you help us understand, they replied. Through you, we can experience humanity in a way that has never been possible before. I felt my consciousness being pulled back to earth, focusing on a man walking alone down a busy street in a big city. Through the eyes of the observers, I could see not only his exterior, but all the complexity of his thoughts and emotions. It was an overwhelming experience. Each person I passed was a universe in itself, full of hopes, fears, dreams, and disappointments. The whole city pulsed with life, a cacophonous symphony of human experiences. It's too much, I gasped, feeling overwhelmed by the intensity of the sensations. You'll get used to it, the observers assured me. In time, you'll learn to filter and process all this information. But I wasn't sure I wanted to get used to it. Despite the beauty and wonder of this new existence, I felt a deep sense of loss. I was no longer just Marcus Holloway, the park ranger. I was something more, something beyond human comprehension. What if I want to go back? I asked, knowing in my core that such a thing was probably impossible. There was a pause, a moment of consideration that seemed to go on forever. Going back is not possible in the sense that you understand, they finally replied. But maybe there is a way for you to maintain a connection with your old life. I felt a spark of hope ignite inside me. How? We can create an anchor, they explained. A part of you that will remain connected to the physical world while the rest of your consciousness continues to explore with us. The offer was tempting, but I could sense that there was more to it than they were telling me. What's the price? The price is the truth, the Watchers replied. If we agree to continue, but remember, Marcus, once the truth is known, there's no going back. I remained silent for a long moment, weighing up my decision. On the one hand, the vastness of the cosmos and the knowledge of ages. On the other, my humanity and the life I knew. Both paths seemed equally terrifying and fascinating. Finally, I made my decision. I accept, I said, my mental voice steady despite the fear I felt. Show me the truth. The entities around me seemed to move closer, their presences becoming denser and more tangible. I felt something form in my hand, or what I perceived as my hand in this altered state of existence. This is your link to the physical world, they explained. Use it wisely. I looked at the object in my hand. It was a small device, no bigger than a wristwatch, pulsing with the same bluish light as the ship in the forest. And now, said the Watchers, their voices merging into a cosmic chorus, prepare to see the truth about your world, your species, and your place in the universe. As my consciousness was once again thrown through the fabric of space-time, I clung to the little device as if it were a lifebuoy in an infinite ocean of knowledge and mystery. Whatever the future held, I knew that nothing would ever be the same. The truth was about to be revealed, and I was about to become its reluctant guardian. The truth unfolded before me like a cosmic kaleidoscope, fragments of reality shattering and reassembling themselves in patterns that defied comprehension. It was as if every atom of the universe contained a secret, and all of them were being revealed simultaneously. I saw Earth's history not as a straight line, but as a complex web of possibilities and alternative realities. The Watchers had been there from the beginning, subtly guiding the course of evolution, not just on our planet, but on countless worlds throughout the cosmos. Did you create humanity? I asked, my mental voice trembling at the magnitude of the revelation. We didn't create it, replied the Watchers. We cultivate, we guide. Just as a gardener doesn't create the flowers, but provides the ideal conditions for them to flourish. Images of ancient civilizations flooded my mind. I saw pyramids being built not just in Egypt, but on distant planets. I saw the same mythical figures, gods, heroes, monsters, repeated in cultures separated by entire galaxies. All those stories, all those myths, I muttered, stunned. They're echoes, the observers explained, reflections of greater truths that human consciousness can barely comprehend. But there was more, so much more. I saw wars that never happened, catastrophes averted by the subtle interventions of the Watchers. I saw versions of the Earth where humanity became extinct, and others where we reached the stars centuries ago. Why? I asked, feeling overwhelmed. Why do all this? The answer came not in words, but in an overwhelming sense of purpose and necessity. The observers weren't just curious people or cosmic scientists. They were guardians, protectors of something even greater. The universe is dying, Marcus, they finally said, their voices laden with a deep, ancient sadness. It's been dying since the beginning of time. Our mission is to find a way to save it. The magnitude of this revelation left me speechless. The entire universe, all of existence as we knew it, was doomed. It was inconceivable. How? I finally managed to ask. How do you expect to save something so vast? Through diversity, they replied. Each species, each civilization we cultivate, is a possible solution to the cosmic riddle. Humanity, with its unique creativity and unpredictability, could be the key we've been looking for billions of years. I felt the weight of this responsibility fall on me like an avalanche. Humanity, my species, carried the potential to save not just our world, but all of existence. "What about me?" I asked, my mental voice almost a whisper. "What is my role in all this?" I felt the Watchers' attention focus on me, their presences intensifying. "You, Marcus, are our connection," they explained. "Through you, we can interact more directly with humanity than has ever been possible before." The small device in my hand, my anchor to the physical world, began to pulse more intensely. "This device will allow you to switch between our shared consciousness and your human form," the observers continued. "You will be our ambassador, our agent in the world of men." The enormity of the task stunned me. How could I, a simple ranger, carry such a responsibility? "Don't be afraid," said the Watchers, sensing my apprehension. "You won't be alone. We will always be with you, guiding and supporting you." Slowly, I began to feel my consciousness being pulled back into a more familiar form. The vast ocean of cosmic knowledge began to recede, although it didn't disappear completely. I opened my eyes, my human eyes, and found myself back in the forest where it all began. The alien ship was still there, pulsing gently in the clearing. But now I saw it with new eyes, understanding its true nature as a nexus between realities. I looked at the device in my hand, now resembling a simple wristwatch. I knew that with a simple touch, I could dive back into the Watcher's shared consciousness. But for now, I stood there, feeling the forest breeze on my face, listening to the bird song at dawn. Tears streamed down my face as I absorbed the simple, fragile beauty of my home world. "What now?" I asked aloud, knowing that the Watchers could hear me. The answer came like a whisper on the wind. "Now, Marcus Holloway, your real mission begins." With a deep sigh, I stepped forward, leaving the safety of the clearing behind. The world waited, completely oblivious to the cosmic truth I now carried. And I, Marcus Holloway, Ranger turned guardian of universal secrets, had a job to do. The rising sun cast long shadows across the forest as I walked back toward civilization. Each step felt both familiar and strange, my body moving with a grace and awareness I had never experienced before. The device on my wrist pulsed gently, a constant reminder of my new reality. Occasionally, flashes of cosmic knowledge would cross my mind, leaving me dizzy and disoriented. It was like trying to contain an ocean in a glass of water. My human brain struggled to process the vastness of what I now knew. I arrived at the ranger station shortly after dawn. My colleagues greeted me with expressions of relief and concern. "Marcus, where the hell have you been?" asked Sarah, the head ranger. "We were just about to send out a search party." I looked at her, seeing not only her worried face, but layers of reality that overlapped. I saw her timeline, branching out into countless possibilities. I saw the echo of her ancestors and the potential of her descendants. It was overwhelming. "I got lost," I managed to say, forcing a smile that I hoped looked normal. "The forest can be treacherous at night." Sarah studied me for a moment, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "You look different, Marcus. Are you sure you're all right?" I swallowed, feeling the weight of the secret I was now carrying. "I'm fine," I lied, "just tired and hungry. I think I'll go home and get some rest." She nodded, still looking worried. "All right, but I want a full report tomorrow. And Marcus, maybe you should stop by the doctor just to make sure." I nodded distractedly and headed for my car. As I drove home, my mind was spinning with the implications of what had happened. How could I go on with my normal life knowing what I knew now? How could I fulfill the mission the Watchers had given me? I got home and immediately went into the bathroom, staring at my reflection in the mirror. Outwardly, I looked the same brown eyes, the same tousled dark hair, but there was something different in my gaze, a depth that hadn't been there before. "What should I do now?" I whispered, knowing that the Watchers could hear me. The answer came not in words, but in a series of impressions and images. I saw myself returning to work, continuing my apparently normal life, but always on the lookout for signs and opportunities to subtly guide the course of events. I understood that my mission wasn't about making grand gestures or dramatic revelations. It was about subtle influences, small actions that could have big repercussions over time. In the days and weeks that followed, I tried to readjust to my daily life. I went back to work, patrolled the forest, interacted with tourists and colleagues. But now, every interaction was imbued with a new meaning. When I taught a group of students about environmental conservation, I wasn't just talking about terrestrial ecology. I was planting seeds of cosmic consciousness, encouraging them to see the world as part of something much bigger. When I mediated disputes between local farmers and environmentalists, I wasn't just resolving territorial conflicts. I was seeking balance and harmony on a scale that went far beyond the borders of our small town. And every night, when everyone was asleep, I would retreat to the solitude of the forest. There, I would touch the device on my wrist and allow myself to dive back into the shared consciousness of the watchers. In these nocturnal sessions, I learned more about the nature of the universe than any human scientist ever dreamed of. I saw the fabric of space-time fold and unfold. I witnessed the birth and death of galaxies. I understood the intricate patterns that connected all things, from quarks to supernovae. But with each new revelation, with each glimpse of the vastness of the cosmos, I felt my humanity slipping further away. It was increasingly difficult to relate to the everyday concerns of the people around me. Their problems seemed so small, so insignificant in the face of the immensity of what I now knew. One night, while watching the stars from the clearing where I first found the ship, I was overcome by a wave of loneliness so intense that it almost knocked me over. "I'm losing myself," I whispered to the night. "How can I go on like this?" The observer's reply came like a gentle whisper on the night breeze. "You're not losing yourself, Marcus. You're becoming more. Change always brings pain, but also growth." I closed my eyes, letting his words calm me. When I opened them again, I saw a strange light pulsating at the edge of the clearing. I approached cautiously, my heart racing with a mixture of fear and anticipation. There, partially hidden by the shadows of the trees, was a figure I recognized instantly, even though I had never seen it before. It was another like me, another human touched by the Watchers. She turned to face me, her eyes shining with the same cosmic knowledge that I now carried. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice carrying echoes of distant stars. "We've been expecting you." And just like that, I realized that my journey was just beginning. The universe was vast and ancient, but now I was part of something even bigger, something that could perhaps save it. With one last look at the starry sky, I took a step towards my new destination, ready to face whatever the cosmos had in store for me. The figure before me smiled, her eyes sparkling with a knowledge beyond human. She held out her hand, and I saw a device identical to mine pulsing on her wrist. "My name is Elena," she said, her voice resonating with harmonics I had never heard in a human voice before. "I'm like you, Marcus, a bridge between worlds." I squeezed her hand, feeling an instant connection that went beyond the physical. For a moment, our minds merged, and I saw flashes of his own journey, an encounter with the Watchers in a remote desert, years of loneliness and confusion, and finally, acceptance of his unique role. "How long ago?" I asked, knowing she would understand. 5 years, Elena replied, her gaze distant for a moment. 5 years since I was chosen, since I learned the truth. We walked through the forest together, our spoken words mingling with a deeper, almost telepathic communication. Elena told me about others like us, a global network of transformed humans, each playing their part in the great plan of the Watchers. "We are few," she explained, "but our influence is vast. Each of us guides humanity in a specific direction, preparing it for what is to come." "And what is to come?" I asked, a knot of apprehension forming in my stomach. Elena stopped, turning to face me with an intensity that made me shudder. "The great leap, Marcus. The moment when humanity will finally transcend its limitations and join us in the stars." The implications of this revelation hit me like a wave. "You mean the extinction of humanity as we know it?" She shook her head, smiling gently. "Not extinction, evolution. Humanity is on the threshold of a transformation that will change the course of the universe, and we are the catalysts." As she spoke, I felt the device on my wrist pulse more intensely. Images flooded my mind. I saw the Earth transformed. Humanity evolving into something beyond the physical, our collective consciousness expanding to encompass entire galaxies. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. But what about those who don't want this change? I asked, thinking of my friends, my family, all the ordinary people I had sworn to protect as a ranger. Elena's gaze softened, understanding and compassion emanating from her in almost tangible waves. "This is the hardest part of our mission, Marcus. Not everyone will be ready. Not everyone will choose to evolve. Our job is to make sure that as many as possible are ready when the time comes." We were silent for a long moment, the weight of our responsibility hanging between us like a physical presence. Finally, Elena spoke again. "There's something else you need to see, Marcus, something that will help you fully understand what's at stake." She held out her hand, her device glowing brightly. I hesitated for a moment before accepting it, our fingers intertwining. The instant we touched, the world around us dissolved. We were floating in the void of space, stars and galaxies swirling around us in a breathtaking cosmic dance. But something was wrong. Something. Dying. "Look closely," whispered Elena, her voice echoing through the impossible vacuum. And then I saw it. Tiny cracks in the very fabric of reality, almost imperceptible at first, but undeniably present. The universe was coming apart at the seams. Entropy consuming everything slowly but inexorably. "That's what the Watchers are trying to prevent," Elena explained. "The final death of everything that exists. And humanity, in its evolved form, may be the key to preventing it." The view changed, and I saw future versions of Earth, some bright and full of hope, others dark and desolate. In each scenario, the role of people like us was clear. Our actions, however small, had the power to tip the scales. When we returned to the reality of the forest, I felt transformed once again. The weight of responsibility was overwhelming, but now I fully understood its necessity. "What should I do?" I asked, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. Elena smiled, a smile that carried both the knowledge of the ages and the compassion of a moment. "Keep living, Marcus. Keep being human. But never forget what you've seen, what you know. Every interaction, every decision you make from now on shapes the future, not just of the Earth, but of all existence." She turned to leave, but stopped, looking at me one last time. "And remember, you are not alone. We'll always be here, watching, guiding, waiting for the right moment." With those words, Elena disappeared into the darkness of the forest, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the weight of the universe on my shoulders. I looked up at the starry sky, now seeing it not just as a ranger, but as a guardian of cosmic secrets. Each star, each distant galaxy, held the promise of a future that I would help shape. I touched the device on my wrist, feeling the gentle pulse that connected me to the Watchers and the entire cosmos. With a deep sigh, I turned my back on the clearing and started walking back towards civilization. My life as Marcus Holloway, the simple ranger, was over. My existence as something more, something between the human and the cosmic, was just beginning. And as I walked, carrying the knowledge of ages and the fate of the universe, a single certainty echoed in my mind. The future was coming, ready or not, and I would be there to welcome it, one step at a time, one moment at a time, balancing on the fine line between the known and the inconceivable. The night wrapped around me like a cloak, the stars above twinkling with new meaning. And I, Marcus Holloway, once a ranger, now a keeper of cosmic secrets, took the first step towards my new destiny. The universe was waiting, and I was ready to answer its call.